Welcome to this short lesson about contact tracing. Over the next few slides, we're going to talk about what it is, why we do it, how we do it, and especially how your privacy is protected. Contact tracing is a tool that public health uses during infectious disease outbreaks like the COVID-19 outbreak that's going on now. It allows us to learn where the disease came from, how it gets transferred from one person to the next, who may have the disease before they even know it, depending on how long it takes for symptoms to show up. And armed with knowledge, we can control the spread of the disease through a population and hopefully ultimately stop the spread. Contact tracing helps us understand where the disease is happening, what communities are being affected. And knowing that, we can take actions to help stop and help protect people. We can understand who is at risk, what age groups, what medical conditions make people more or less susceptible, who is more likely to have a mild case versus a serious case. And knowing that, we can follow up with high-risk groups and let them know what they can do to best protect themselves from getting the disease. Contact tracing helps us track the disease spread from one person to the next, from one community to the next, from one county to the next, from one state to the next. And knowing where the disease is and what the status of the disease is helps us determine when it is safe to return to normal public life. Contact tracing is started when public health gets notified that somebody has tested positive for the disease that is currently the public health problem. Public health will then contact that person, will call them on the phone and ask them questions and ask them if they can do a voluntary interview. Again, the interview is entirely voluntary. The person is under no obligation to talk to public health, but we urge people to please let us interview you and get information that we can then use to help protect everyone else in the community. And one way we do that, and why this is called contact, is we are looking for close contacts, which is people who have been in near proximity to the person who is sick while they were potentially infectious, while they were able to spread the disease. The person with the disease will be given information on how to isolate themselves so that they can't spread the disease to others, how long they need to isolate themselves, if they live in a home with other people, how they can still isolate themselves and protect the others in their own home. Close contacts who are identified by the person with the disease are then called to let them know they may have been exposed. Depending on the disease, how easily it is to get exposed changes. With COVID right now, it's if you've been within 6 feet of someone, unprotected, no mask on the patient, no mask on yourself, for 10 to 15 minutes, there's a possibility you may have been exposed to that disease. The people who may have been exposed will be instructed in how to quarantine themselves to prevent possible disease spread. So the person with the disease isolates so they can't give it to anyone else. A close contact is asked to quarantine themselves in case they do have it, then they won't give it to anyone else. Contacts will not be told who they may have been in contact with the disease unless the person with the disease specifically allows that. So that's one way privacy is protected. Every person called receives guidance about what to do to keep themselves safe and others in their immediate family, their circle of friends, their co-workers, and the broader community, whether it's isolating if you're sick and can spread the disease, or quarantine if you may have been exposed and could spread the disease. Interviewers will never, ever ask or write down your immigration status, your social security number, any financial information, or your marital status. Privacy is protected because only public health is allowed to see the information about patients or contacts. It doesn't go to the paper, it's not out in social media. It is very closely held private medical information. So no personal information will be shared with anyone else for any reason. And again, participation is voluntary. There are myths out there that if you don't answer public health questions, you can be arrested and go to jail. Those are absolutely not true. Those are myths. Participation is voluntary. Isolation and quarantine are both voluntary, but highly encouraged, because the virus can't move on its own. It doesn't have wings, it doesn't have legs, it doesn't have a bus ticket. The only way a virus can move through a community is from person to person to person. So if people isolate when they need to or quarantine when they need to, that's how we stop diseases until there is a vaccine and a cure. So even though everything we've talked about here is voluntary, everyone's participation is absolutely appreciated, because your participation means you are participating in making your community well again. If you have any questions or really want to take a deep dive into what contact tracing is, the State of Washington Department of Health has a lot of good information on their website at the address you see here on your screen, doh.wa.gov/contact tracing. And if you have any questions specifically about Lewis County, please give us a call, 360-740-1222. And thank you.